This is the Okayest Hunter podcast. Never pass on shooter bucks, if that's just meat in the freezer. It's your tag, you hunt how you want. This is Okayest Hunter.
Smooth, huh?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Okayest Hunter podcast, coming at you from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Brought to you by none other than Spartan Forge, our presenting sponsor, our good friends out east. The caller from last week said he discovered an additional 10 acres of land he didn't know he had because of the Spartan Forge app.
It's pretty stinking special.
That's Stephen Lee. Not to be confused with Stephanie. Okay? Greg, I know you really messed it up last week.
Yeah, you did a real fine job.
No, so SpartanForge.ai is the website. You can use code OHP for 25% off your annual membership. I know only a few folks that rep the brand, and there's a lot of them out there. Provide the 25%. A lot of them are 20%. And then it depends on who you're talking to. You get extra. But we are giving away an annual membership of Spartan Forge at Foam Fest coming up in whopping 2 weeks on August 27th.
2 weeks.
So,
I hope I have a bow by then.
Yeah, I hope so too. That'd be a shame. Maybe you can win one of these ones we're giving away here. You know, it's not going to help you much, but
No, it's really not going to help me much.
Be losing arrows everywhere. And before I get into our other partnership announcements, well, fuck it. I'll do those and then I'll go back. Sorry, I'm all over the place today.
Yeah, you are.
So anyway, Vector Custom Shop. Mine are going to be here this week by the looks of my shipping status. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I want to practice really bad with them, and I'm going to be putting up the saddle in the backyard, and I'm going to be flinging arrows from the tree stand.
That'll be good.
Well, tree stand, tree platform, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Saddle platform. I don't know. Most people should know about Vector Custom Shop that listen to our show. If you're new to the show and you don't know who they are micro diameter, thick walled arrows. They have two different lines, right? HMR and the ZMR.
HMR and the ZMR. The ZMR is a little bit lighter weight.
Yep. And Isaac has been a guest on the show. If you just go back a month or two ago, you can listen to a pretty good episode we did with him and Brian with Beast Mode Archery. They were talking about all the stuff they have going on. Should probably do another refresher with them because stuff changes pretty fast over there.
Yeah, it does.
But in a good way. They're just constantly evolving. And then Latitude Outdoors, speaking of saddles, that's the saddle that Greg and I are hunting out of, and Derek will be hunting out of one of those this season too, I believe. It's just one of the tools in our arsenal. It's the only one in mine. I'm not hunting out of a tree stand at all. I know you go back and forth.
Yeah, I go back and forth. I probably put more sits in the saddle last year than I did the stand, but there's a few trees out there where it's going to take an awful lot of trimming to make it huntable with a saddle, so tree stand gets a nod.
Mm-hmm. What did you think about like hip hinge and all that jazz with the two-piece?
No issue whatsoever. I was very comfortable in it.
Yeah, same. A lot of options for like adjustability, which I think is nice with the two-piece. Good product, nice and quiet. All the lineman stuff comes with it as a kit. It was a pretty great setup, honestly. Yeah,
and honestly, if you're looking to try one out, there's a lot of different events, and not to take anything away from Latitude, but Tethered is a company that's always running around roadshow styling, doing like a demo on how to hunt out of one, or you can actually go try the gear out. So they're actually going to be in our area here this weekend, I do believe, on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, they're going to be at the Half Rack event on the 20th?
I don't believe so.
Because I know I'm going to that on Saturday.
Yeah,
that's
it runs the same time, and I think it's going to be over by Verona.
Oh, that's not near there then. And then I'm going to bring mine to Foam Fest. Greg, if you're able to bring yours, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to bring one, and I'm going to bring that XOP platform that I have, and maybe I'll bring my my Frankensticks that I built.
Frankensticks, nice. Well, anyway, 20% off on all accessories over there. Use code OHP. Go Wild, good friends of ours. They're going to be at an event with Half Rack this weekend too. we're bringing them a very special delivery, and they're bringing us a very special delivery. So they're bringing us a bunch of Go Wild swag to give away at Foam Fest, as
Nice.
well as a Vortex Optics sight. I think it's like a $500 sight. I mean, rangefinder.
Rangefinder.
Yeah, I keep saying sight because it helps me see. But yeah, so good pals of us over there. Our podcast is accessible on their platform as like you can post that you listen to it. It'll automatically upload everything. It's pretty neat how that works. Positive community, which we've talked about. They promote grip and grins and
all good,
and outdoor content. Unlike what we talked about last week, we're getting our freaking wrists slapped pretty hard by Facebook right now, which is very frustrating. It's still going on. And Drop Time Spirits, I'm drinking Driftless Glen tonight. I'm giving that a shot. It's Wisconsin based, out of the Driftless region. It is really strong. Does it tell me? It's out of Baraboo, Wisconsin.
48, do you know where that is?
48%. Yeah, I've been to Baraboo. They have a little circus town over there. 48%. Is that what that says?
48% alcohol by volume.
Yeah, I don't know what that turns out to be in
96 proof is what they're showing.
It's got a bite to it, that's for sure.
Nice.
I just messaged our friends over at Drop Time to see if we can restock. We're running low. We've been giving bottles away as gifts for some folks. We've been drinking it, so we burned through a whole case pretty quick here this last go around. It's very tasty. We shared it at the trade show. We brought it to an event with Spartan Forge for their vet hunt last November. So I left it at Johnny's cabin in Pennsylvania there. I think he's got a bottle of it. Yeah, and so real quick before we bring on our guest for the day, I wanted to talk about Foam Fest for just 2 seconds. We did finally secure our location. So originally,
thank God.
Originally, we're going to do it.
Where's your applause on here?
Do I have one of those? I don't think I do.
Not.
I do have this though. I think.
Okayest Hunter.
Yeah, we got that. So it was going to be at Hubbleton Brewery, and they're just growing so fast that the town is kind of like, hey, you need to formalize some things. You can't just have events willy nilly because you're disrupting some probably old curmudgeon neighbor. So they're in some cahoots with that. And as a result, we weren't able to have our event because it would have rocked the boat a bit too much. So then we went on the hunt for finding another venue that we could use, reach out to other breweries, reach out to archery ranges, talked with friends, talked with other people that have done this kind of stuff. And we landed at Horicon Marsh Bowman Club. And it's in Horicon Marsh. It's about 30 minutes from where I'm at, where our podcast studio is, just north of 94 here. Straight shot. It's a really beautiful spot. There's basically no cell reception. You're not going to have any internet there if you come and join us, but it's $20 to register. You can register on a website. You go to events, and then you'll go to an event page to sign up. Kids are welcome. Family is welcome. There'll be food. There'll be donuts and coffee in the morning, brats in the afternoon. I think Greg's going to make some venison sloppy joes for the evening.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be archery, obviously the 3D course, and then we're going to do some giveaways too. We have quite a bit to give away, so we're going to concoct some fun ways to enter into the drawing, and then we're going to do a 50-50 raffle to donate half of that money to conservation. So pretty neat. I think this is a shotgun style event based on the fact that we almost lost our location. So the planning efforts kind of got like really scrambled. I think if this goes remotely,
scrambled is an understatement, but
if it
regardless, you kept the faith. You didn't stress out. I'd have been shitting bricks. I don't know.
I mean, worst case scenario, I could have just canceled it. But I want to use this as a test run, so to speak. So be gracious with us. We're not event planners, and I've not done this before. So if this one goes remotely well, then next year we're going to do it much bigger and better, and we're going to really kind of focus on being family centric. Things like bouncy house, face painting, youth shoots, more money for conservation, more bigger, better prizes, and better planning.
Just getting our feet wet. It's all good.
So we'll see how it goes for the first one. And I probably can stop talking about that. But if you haven't registered and you want to come hang out with us, you don't even need to shoot. Greg might not have his bow. I know a buddy that may not bring his bow. Some people just want to come and hang out, and that's totally fine too. But the registration is going to cover your food and your drink.
You can't shoot any targets.
Yep.
It's fine.
Yeah. All right. I think I got it, right?
Yeah. So who are we talking to tonight?
Our friend Evan Masters.
We are. Evan, what's going on?
Hey, not much. How are you guys doing?
Oh,
good,
hanging in there like a hair on a biscuit.
There you go. That's a new one for me. Let's see if I can remember it for the future.
He's got some wackadoo.
Well, I talk to enough people, so I hear all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah. Evan, where are you out of today? Where are you calling from?
I'm in South Central Minnesota.
So not
So Mankato area, if you know where
okay.
that's about an hour and a half south of Minneapolis.
Nice. So good old Minnesota. You're not too foreign to like, us Wisconsin folk with our terrible winters.
Your spotted cow and all the things that come from Wisconsin. That's all I ever hear is how great Wisconsin is from everyone from Wisconsin. So
I mean, it's okay.
it's
like,
nice.
We don't mind
it's
it.
okay.
We
Outside
live
the
here.
Packers, I'm not too against it. Big Vikings fan, so sorry guys.
Sorry
Hey.
for you.
Some of the best
Yeah.
friendships found over a common enemy. So as long as you hate the Bears, we're okay.
Yep, the Bears.
Yeah,
Not
F
a
the
fan.
Bears. Well, dude, thanks for jumping on the show. So I think you'd followed us for some time, but then we got to meet at Spartan Forge's veteran hunt. That I don't even know how I ended up there, how you ended up there, but you were like one of the nicest people there. Not to say anyone else there wasn't, but like you came out with John. You're like, hey man, what's going on? And you greeted me, and it was awesome. And we have like some of the same content of it snowing that same weekend, and like we were in the same woods at the same time. So we kind of hunted together, and we got to hang out at deer camp together. I don't remember if you did the whole mustache thing when you were there, like everyone else.
I had like a day old mustache, so I was a little bit behind the power curve there, but it worked a little bit. I did have one encounter, so maybe that if I would have had a bigger mustache, maybe I would have shot a buck in PA. But
could have worked. I know Lee Ellis can't grow any face hair at all, so he just drew one on his face, right, with a marker.
he did, yeah.
Baby face Lee. But they raised some money too from that hunt, and I think that at that point they were doing it for the boot campaign. I think Bill has since switched gears for which campaigns they're going to give to, just based on kind of that interactivity and two-way street. But it was a lot of fun going out there. It was a 10-hour drive one way, and then I turned around the next day basically and came right back home. And you're a pilot by trade, so like you get around to different places. I was thinking you might have been able to make it here in studio, but that's okay.
Yeah. I was luckily able to jump on a flight over to Pittsburgh, and then I met up with one of the guys helping out with Spartan Forge, and we drove up. It was a couple-hour drive up there to the Allegheny, and so it definitely was a nice perk to have some flight benefits.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've only flown first class once, and it was not because I paid for it, and it was a really awesome experience, to be quite honest. I was like, wow, I really do get out, pick my drink, and I didn't have to pay for the movie. I was like, wow, this is pretty nice.
A hot towel for the OHP crew, sir?
That's
right. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, usually we only get hot Carl, so
What the?
Greg's like, God damn it, Eric.
Really? Here we go.
Well, I am drinking this Driftless Glen, which is like pretty potent. So give me, another 10 minutes here and we'll get real weird, I'm sure. Yeah. So dude, I thought it'd be fun to chat with you because you've been a listener. We're pals. You engage with our social stuff, and
You've hunted with a lot of cool people.
Yeah, you have. So that's good. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, I mean, you met some pretty cool people. I mean, obviously, Instagram is a great place to meet people. Some would say it's not so great, but I don't know. My experience has been good, and it seems like your experience has been pretty good too. You got to hang out with Johnny. You've been probably friends with Shane Simpson for a little while. It looks like you've gone hunting with him. Who else am I missing?
Yeah, I think those are kind of the main two of I'd say guys that are kind of popping up all over podcasts and such. And Shane, yeah, I've been talking to Rendell a lot actually. I haven't gone scouting with him yet, but I'm looking forward to that. He is very much a wealth of knowledge. That's been very helpful for me. So, Shane, I always knew Shane was Minnesota guy, so it's been fun to. I've been learning a lot from him and continue to learn, especially the turkey woods, but just being a woodsman. And then Johnny was just a whole nother level. I just was constantly just looking around the woods. What is this guy is just like a computer out there is awesome.
Yeah. He really has some great woodsmanship, and he knows how to read the woods and kind of unravel what's going on.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah,
Johnny, he's the explanation he gave when he was on the show last year before, whenever it was, he talked about like being a lawyer, putting like a crime scene together and like building a case. He's like, I'm trying to build a case against this thing, and murder it. I was like, holy shit. And he's not wrong. I mean, that's definitely one way to look at it. And he knows his stuff, but yeah, he was so nice. He put us on a spot. I mean, I didn't have to do any homework at all. I didn't know what I was doing. He just was like, hey, here you go on this spot. But how have you kind of made some of those inroads with some of these folks that they might be intimidating to some or perceivably hard to reach or access, and yet here you are picking their brain and learning from them. I had to say in the next 2 years or so, if you're not putting down giants, we're gonna have to consider how you're hunting if you're not picking anything up from these folks.
Yeah, Instagram deleted off the map, no longer a person because I can't shoot a big buck. But yeah, I don't know. I've always been a talker, so if you ask any of my buddies, I try to be pretty self-aware and not, if I can tell you're not really into the conversation, not to be that guy that's like hanging on your door as you're driving away. But I love to talk, and especially about anything really. But when it got into hunting, I've been messaging Shane a little bit, and I don't know if it's just the way people approach. I'm sure you guys have seen it, but just as maybe somebody gets bigger, they're on a podcast, everyone starts getting messages from everybody. And I think a lot of guys maybe just want like a quick fix or some tips, or, hey, send me your pins or go here. And I just think that my approach is more, hey, I'm truly interested in what you said in this podcast or your YouTube video or whatever it is. And I just kind of pose that question. Hey, would you be, how'd you do this? Or with Shane, I just been messaging him a little bit. Hey, I'm only a couple hours from it. If you want to meet up sometime, that'd be awesome. And then it ended up working out. He films a lot in the spring. And I think my turkey experience, for sure, and knowledge just shot up from just half a day with him in the woods.
Yeah, when you can learn a lot from a guy that's a level or two up on you, and if you can be a sponge and soak it all in, that is really helpful.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
That's awesome. I think
yeah.
We've talked to Shane Simpson. I think we talked to him about dog tracking.
Yeah, you had him on for tracking,
and that was a while back. But he's a sharp cat. He knows his stuff, and he's made his rounds with people too. Like I think he's been with the Hunting Public guys, and
Garrett Prawl.
He's really well respected and revered. I remember asking some forum, hey, who can I talk to, or who should I be talking to for tracking dogs and scent tracking deer, and he was the number one person. There was like, you got to talk to Shane. And so we did, and it worked out. And he shared a lot of good knowledge. It's really cool.
It's just. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just there's certain people too that I think are just so willing to help. And I understand if you get a bunch of messages that it can be overwhelming, especially if you get to be a pretty large platform or a person that's pretty popular. But Shane, Andy May, we've all know about him killing big bucks. He's messaged me back with a lot of great information. Rendell, 100%. Johnny, a lot of these guys, they're just very much willing to help if they have the chance to and they have the time. And that's I really appreciate that as a newer guy into this style of hunting and everything. So.
Yeah, and Greg's one of those guys that I think is super helpful too. That's how him and I got connected. It was just, he's like, hey, do you want to come shoot bows sometime? Do you want to come to this archery range and whatever? And he just that openness and willingness to be kind and helpful. We beat the drum that there's a lot of negativity and we got to end buck shaming, and that's a thing, but that is 1%. 99% is positive and good, and people are awesome by and large. So
it's a lot easier to be nice and kind and helpful than it is to be an absolute prick. I think it takes so much more energy. It is. It's a big waste of energy to be a complete jerk. Be an asshole and belittle somebody. It took you how many minutes to figure out that comment that you're now going to put on whatever platform, social media platform, to cut somebody down? It takes that much more effort. It's just easier to be nice. Give them a thumbs up, give them a smiley face emoji, whatever it is. Be positive. It's not that freaking hard.
Yeah, and most people are, but then you get your bad eggs. But to that point, you're reaching out to folks, and they're very open to helping you along. I think that's fantastic. And part of the topic that I think we're trying to circle around here is this aggressive style of hunting, and that term aggressive means a few things. I don't mean like, oh, I'm gonna get mad and kill a whitetail, like maybe. But, you know what I mean? It's like when I say, oh, that's an intimate setting, it's not because, you know, we're in here French kissing. It's just cozy and intimate, and like it's a small group. People use words certain ways. I just want to clear the air on like aggressive means like you're going to find the deer rather than passively waiting for a deer to come across your path.
And don't worry about spooking it, because it's there's 95% chance maybe it's going to happen anyway, right? That you're going to spook that deer.
Yeah, right. So then just you're going to learn more by bumping that deer out of his bed and figuring that you're validating, yes, he was there. I am on the right track. This is good intel. Now I'm really fucking learning something. Versus, this looks like a spot where a deer might come through. And then if it does, you think, well, then you don't know why that happened, or maybe you think you did a great job. And that's all good because like luck plays a big part here. But, you know, if one never comes by, then you're just not learning as much. So I think that aggressive approach of like trying to get closer to the deer and close that gap, much like we talked about last week with Derek and us about like getting into that bedding sanctuary, that bedroom, and kind of working with more daylight on your side if you can. Is helpful.
That's where spring scouting, especially in a new area, even in an old area that maybe you've got some old intel on, if you haven't revisited it, maybe it's time. And we did. I mean, I've walked a lot of that swamp that we walked, but I walked it years ago. And remember my comment, man, this has changed a lot back here.
Yep.
And our DNR, our biologists are constantly trying to do more work. When they get money in, they try to take and apply that cash to making that area better.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe that area suffered, but an area 200 yards away, like the burn area, 300 yards away, is all completely wiped clean. What are they doing there? Don't know. I walk in there. There's all sorts of new growth, native plants that should be in there, and not, 10-foot tall ragweed like there usually is.
Yeah. Things change. You got to get in there and see what's going on. So what has your experience been like learning from some of these greats and trying to apply some of that and like get to a new threshold of deer hunting?
Yeah, so it's been awesome. So there's so many guys with such good analogies, but I had LASIK like 10 years ago. And I remember, before that, when I was wearing glasses, every morning I'd wake up without my glasses on. I'd look at the alarm clock. I couldn't, it was pretty blurry. I couldn't see it. And then the first time I had LASIK, I woke up and I could see clearly what time it was. And it kind of makes me think of that. I've hunted my whole life, but now finding kind of this, I know we kind of term it underground, for me, it seems similar. I read that one of the blog posts that Derek wrote, but just the way people have seen on TV versus how you really need to get after it if you're hunting similar property, like private, like free permission or public. But it's like, man, I've done this my whole life. I've deer hunted a little bit kind of casually, but now I'm seeing it from a different lens. And everything was just like, I just rushed I just couldn't believe it. I'm just seeing deer could be in spots that, everyone thought you just needed a fancy food plot and a big box blind. And that's what you needed if you wanted to kill big deer. And then I start finding these guys that are they're finding deer in the Horicon marsh. I was just looking at that. It looks pretty sweet, pretty huge. But, places that maybe people write off, hey, public land, that's junk. Maybe if you don't have fancy land, you got to go hunt that. But as I started watching these videos, the hunting beast has been a big influence for sure, but watching videos and hearing guys talk on podcasts and going out as my practical application of that conversation and finding beds and, whoa, like people talk about buck beds, and it took me a while to actually figure out this is a buck bed. I felt kind of dumb at first, but just the more you do it, just like everyone says, it definitely takes time, but you can, I think, fast forward that and be when you're, if you really are aggressive with it and try to scout a lot and listen to these guys and take good notes and maybe I re-listen to a lot of podcasts and keep going out and reevaluating these properties. And it's just like a big puzzle. I can't speak. And you keep finding those little pieces of the puzzle, and it's just blowing my mind. My wife's sick of hearing me talk about it.
They all are.
So yeah.
That's like reading a book and then like living your life for 5-10 years and then reading the book again. You're seeing it through a totally different lens. Like, this is a terrible example. I don't know why I talk about this kind of dumb crap, but Jurassic Park #1 was on our TV over the weekend. And I was like, I've never watched this as an adult. I watched as a kid.
You saw it and you kind of skimmed through the details, didn't you? You were just like, okay, yeah, we're watching this movie.
Yeah.
And then you go rewatch it. And the same thing with reading a book. You're hoping to get to the end of it. I mean, not in a bad way, but you were buzzing right through it.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're like, well, yeah, I know how it ends, but you're kind of taking more interest in little bits and pieces of it as it goes along.
Yeah, like I never knew that the big fat dude was the saboteur of the whole damn thing. It just I didn't even pick up on that as a child. Like it didn't make sense.
Yeah, the big fat dude's a big buck and he's evaded you how many times, and now you're seeing what the big fat dude does.
Yeah.
You know, he used that can of shaving cream to hide all that stuff in.
Yeah.
Use that to your advantage.
That's funny. No, so stuff like that, like reanalyzing properties with new information. Like we use the Spartan Forge app. I think you use the Spartan Forge app. We've talked about this a little bit, but I now see properties through a different light as I've learned more information. And having those mentors, those folks that can teach you, the fact that you're reaching out to them and getting access and they're like holding your hand to some level, maybe not like obviously not literally, but to stand in a buck bed, you might not know, like, oh, I've learned about buck beds. I've heard about buck beds. Maybe this is one, maybe it's not, but to be with someone that has that experience and exposure and knowledge to say like, yeah, no, you did it, man. This is a buck bed. Like, good job. You're picking it up. To get that affirmation is like a really big deal. So for me, having Greg and Derek at my beck and call, literally calling them in the middle of hunting season, in the middle of a hunt, being like, this is where I am. This is what I'm seeing. What do you guys think? I'm sending them pictures and they're like helping me. Same thing. Maybe with some of the folks that you're talking to, you get
sometimes you got to phone a friend. It's just the way it is.
And like you're talking about, you're talking with Rendell Eric a whole bunch. You're probably texting him like, "Hey, dude, what do you think of this?" or "How does that go?" And it's cool that he's giving you the time of the day, and these other folks are too. That's awesome.
Rendell's a good dude. I mean, not to say that Johnny isn't a good dude either, because
Johnny's not. I'm just kidding.
Johnny, he'll
shit.
He'll make it a point to hit you back.
He's got to come to Wisconsin and bring me a bottle of something.
Yeah, he's a good dude too. But Rendell, like I noticed, like everything that I've posted or whatever, he has always liked or commented or something, or he'll shoot me a message. Just there are guys out there that are successful that are willing to help people, and just they like to see you succeed as much as they succeed. Maybe even more so in some
it's
cases.
Intrinsic. That's that.
And that's the attitude to have.
Yeah, that intrinsic value of like, I have the same thing. Like I can help people, not with hunting too much. I think everyone has something to offer.
No, but you got some skills that a lot of people I don't think appreciate enough.
Well,
aside from
if you need help with a podcast or something, I'd love to talk to you.
You're a good dude too. So,
So yeah, how has it been going then? Like, are you able to apply these things and have that, like when I'm talking about the affirmation of, oh, I am in the right area. This is the right stuff. It's hard to know that without the help.
Yeah. So I think a big part of it too, coming to be a mentee, and as we all get better in whatever it is, your career, or if it's your family life and someone's going to be a new father or whatever it is, as a mentor, you kind of can understand if someone's feels like they're in it for a good reason and not just looking for handouts. So I think that's part of it. The way you're asking people questions, it's not just, hey, send me your pins and everything. If they see that you truly care about getting better at whatever it is, that makes a huge difference. So I've had 2 good springs of doing this aggressive spring scouting and covering a lot of miles. And I mean, for example, I found a pretty dang big buck, like the biggest buck I've ever seen on camera, on an oxbow. So I hunt kind of mix of a lot of ag country. There's some river bottom, so a little bit of not really hill country. They're pretty, nothing like I saw in, southeast Minnesota with Johnny or down over in Pennsylvania. And then some smaller swamps. But I found this bed, and I was just kind of curious how I'd skin that cat and where I could hunt. And Rendell was messaging me basically live on Instagram. Hey, dude. And I didn't learn this later, but that he talked about this, but he stuck a stick in the bed and so he said, always carry an orange hat with you. And I put this orange hat on top of the stick at whatever height about where the deer would lay. And then I walked all these exit trails. And I was like, this is so freaking fun, man. I'm like, just like, this is, I feel like, and he talks about it a lot too, just surgically removing a deer. And I'm walking these exit trails, figuring out there's a scrape that I had found. That's where I had seen that buck on camera. And then he's just kind of giving me some little tips. Hey, what do the trees look like? Where, how far he usually somewhat gets from the bed. And I mean, it really varies, but it's just kind of cool to have someone there, right, to show me or kind of talk me through his process. And then I can take that bits and pieces of that and apply it to my own style. So it's still yet to be seen if that deer is alive or not. But I'm just so pumped to go in there and sit on that tree that even prepping trees, that's something totally new to me where I'm able to do that.
Sure.
But just thinking, hey, these deer are going to shift, or all these things. It's just a constant lifelong learning cycle that I'm currently kind of just diving into. And it's just, man, I just talk about it almost too much sometimes. I can't stop relating things to, man, see that oak tree? Like, even just being there, like yesterday, I'm like up there looking, oh, there's acorns up there. Like, where are they? And then, I guess that's a bur oak, and the bur oaks fall under what a white oak is. And just trying to get some of those guys you listen to that know the kind of the flora and fauna, and they just seem like the great white hunter that knows, that, this type of plant they're eating, or acorns and stuff aren't that crazy complicated, but it's still, I've never been out there before looking at trees and which ones have acorns. And pretty cool, Spartan Forge, I can put a big old acorn pin and put acorns on oak, like that kind of stuff. Just the little parts that might help me, this season, depending on if they're dropping or whatever.
Like, what are you doing on your phone? Are you playing a game? No, I'm just putting acorns on trees on Spartan Forge.
Now you're talking to your friend.
Yeah.
Now you get to learn, what plants are and what deer like at certain times of year. I mean, that's another feather in your cap to keep learning. But that bed that you found, if it's a good bed and there's historic evidence there of other deer using it in the past, if that buck's not alive, there's another deer moving in there to take his place.
Yeah.
When big ones are killed, a vacuum gets created, and then another one's going to take that spot. They have their territories that they're representing, right? And if they are, taken off the land, well, hey, guess what? We got vacancy. This bed's now available in this hotel. You can go ahead and rent this room.
Right?
Yeah. There's just so much to that. Just how I'd grown up hunting, just kind of picking a tree and sitting next to it with my slug gun, or sitting at a box blind. That was a lot of fun. I shot a lot of spikes. I shot a lot of 4-pointers, little forkhorns, and that was a blast. Like, if I shot one right now, I'd still be pumped. I mean, a doe comes in, my heart's pounding still, even if I know I'm not going to shoot it. But it seems to be a natural progression to want to go towards that more mature deer. That's just, it's what's crazy to me in Minnesota, how the gun season is right during the middle of the rut, and there's those big bucks that survive that. To me, it blows my mind if one gets to be 3.5 years old and to have the opportunity to hunt that deer. And that's I don't know, it seems to be quite the challenge, and I'm pretty excited to have a goal, constantly have a goal to work towards all year round, whether it's scouting or actually out there hunting for them.
Yeah. I had a thought there. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, Spartan Forge. We had Bill on, I don't know, one of the times. I don't know if that was the time he got drunk here, if that was a different time, but we talked about how some bucks, based on the data, he's like, some bucks don't even participate in the breeding season. So they're off on some steep ridge, just sitting there hanging out, and they don't like move out of their little bedroom really until second rut or something like that. Like, they're not even you're never going to find them, And that's interesting that they have that much tracking collar data that they can see, like, this deer didn't frickin' move, until this time. I just think that's crazy that they have that much will to live, that they've gotten so smart that they've realized that that's the way to live, is to just hang low. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Travis said Bill is the bomb. Bill is the bomb. He also probably has some bombs. So
he probably does, yeah. He knows where to drop them.
He probably does. You can hunt a deer, so you can hunt a deer. It's like you got ball, you got wrench. I mean, really, that's what it reminds me of. So yeah, putting this stuff into practice is probably a lot of fun. It does something to the brain to, like, forge new territory and like have new realizations. And you talked about like it's still fun to shoot spikes and there's this natural progression. Look, we've called out before, and Derek has called us out. We've called us out that everyone's at a different place in their hunting journey, and there's stages of a deer hunter that I think gets called out in like hunter safety. It's I don't remember what they are right now off the top of my head, but like something like shoot deer, basically. What's the other ones, Greg? I'm drawing a blank. Like trophy hunting, becoming like the end is like sportsman, where you care less what's coming by. You want to teach more people how to hunt. You want to photograph them or whatever.
I'm surprised you don't have that plaqued on the wall here.
You put it right there, so when I'm looking this way, I can just see it. I just did an article about it, so I don't know. I can't remember
Flash
things.
in the fan.
I can see it in my brain, but I can't get it to my tongue. But it's good to know that everyone is at a different place in their journey, and that's why I thought it'd be fun to talk to you, because you're not some expert, right? You're not putting down these giants on a regular basis yet, but it's cool to talk to you because you're in it right now, and a lot of hunters are. So it's good to find someone that you can relate to that's at the same place as you. Like in entrepreneurship, I'm thinking, wow. Every now and again, I talk to someone like, "Oh, you're suffering too. Like this isn't easy." You're kind of where I'm at. I thought you had all this money. Like, no, man, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm like, oh, great, I don't either. Let's talk more. It's good to talk to people that are in a similar spot as you.
Yeah, you're taking the time to learn from really good people that want to help you.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a pretty wild thing, and it's interesting being new in anything. I was just telling Eric on the phone earlier today that I just turned 30, so it depends on the room you walk into. I'm an old guy in some rooms, or if you go to another one, like, oh, you're just a young buck, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I just started getting into lifting weights more. I've always been kind of a skinny guy, and the second the AI caught onto that, and Bill's probably part of that. The AI, he's a smart guy with that, but everything I see is just filling my feed with nutrition and lifting, and it can be overwhelming. And it's the same thing with
nutrition,
podcasts
protein,
or information. Yeah, everything. It's just whether you're new into anything, it can be a pretty overwhelming to go into a shop and ask like pretty pointed questions about products, or to go try to find information on scouting, and you could find anything really. So that's what I try to do as best I can, because with social media, you can tell as much or as little as you want about a deer that you harvested and the conditions you harvested it in, but just trying to find guys that consistently kill deer of the caliber I want to kill, or whatever it is that you want to kill, and they do it in similar conditions, I'd say, like whether it's public or they're not just I would say just not hunting. For me, it's not hunting like a private managed farm, because that's going to be a much different style of hunting, and that would be a lot of fun too, I think, but it's just nothing that's available to me, and I don't frankly think that's the style I want to go towards. But there's certain guys I just keep seeking out. The more you listen to podcasts, the more you see YouTube videos, you can kind of figure out over time if it falls into a similar situation that you're in.
Yeah, just talk more to Spartan Forge's pro staff. It's like the most freaking dream team.
It's
hunters.
biodiverse. I mean, it's got everybody from like us guys to Levi Morgan, a guy that can shoot the eyes out of a gnat at 100 paces.
Shoot the eyes out of a gnat. Do gnats have eyes? They must.
Well, yeah, they got to see to fly.
Oh my gosh, those things are tiny. Yeah, but that's honestly though, that's the kind of thing where you pay attention to the space, right, and you start to see some of the same folks on what I would call a podcast circuit. It's like they get on one, next thing you know, they're on a whole bunch of them, and different people can tease different things out of them because there's different cultures in podcasts and different personalities, and so maybe you'll get similar things, but you hear it differently, and sometimes it takes hearing something several times for it to actually sink in. How many times your parents have to tell you to do something before you're like, I guess I should finally listen to that, and these guys are people you want to listen to, so it's totally different from that perspective. But suddenly, all of a sudden, it clicks because you heard it a different way, or it applied here. Or, oh, I see it now, and then you realize they've been talking like this the whole time, but that's because that's what they know. I don't know. I think it's great. It's fun that you can pick up on who those folks are and try to learn from them. And like the Vitals Live does a good job of that too. The Vitals Live is run by Bow Hunter Chronicles and Latitude. Alex Chop and Adam Miller, I think, kind of put that together, and they get people in like a Zoom chat room, or like a Zoom meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Privately held. You got to pay, to get in there. But then it's like super granular information. It's called the vital cuts for a reason, because then eventually they extract the vital clips or cuts of information that those like John Eberhart or Andy May or whoever's on that thing for that week are talking about very specific tactics. Super dense way to learn. And it's not a podcast. It's just like it's like a webinar, you know, super educational. There's enough places to extract information from, but like you had said, you got to get those boots on the ground and start to apply it and reassess and reevaluate based on those learnings and reapply things. I remember the first time I ever kind of talked to Infault and went down that rabbit hole of the beast mode stuff. I remember one particular hunt where
The hunting beast, not beast mode.
Oh, my bad. I did go beast mode with hunting beast. A lot of beasts out there. But I remember I got to this wood edge and it just stopped on a peninsula, and then I was standing in like facing a wall of cattails, and it was wet and swampy, and I thought, you know what? To hell with it. I'm going in. And I did. And I probably didn't even need to go that way. I probably could have just skirted the edge of the wood line the whole way through. But there was like a mental threshold that I crossed in doing that. And then I got to an area that I had never been in before. And I'd never seen so many rubs, beds, deer hair, poop, all of it. And it was right along a river, basin and by oxbows. And I was like, holy shit. I've never seen this kind of sign before. And like suddenly the light bulbs were going off like fireworks. It was crazy. And I felt different. I was like, wow, I did something. I learned something new, like for myself and in person. I tried to finally apply some of this stuff. And it was pretty eye-opening. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely something different than I think most of us probably started off doing, unless you had these people as your close friends or you both kind of learned at the same time. But it's yeah, I mean, I take a lot of screenshots of, those buck bedding videos. I've taken some screenshots of different. I like how they draw on there and talk about, hey, this is kind of a potential setup. And I think it's important not to take anything as gold. And I know I listened to a podcast that Joe Rentmeester did, and he's a big hunting beast guy, but he says, yeah, I don't take everything that Dan says as
gospel.
As gospel, yeah. And he goes and kind of figures out little different ways he does it, what works for him. And
you're going to find your way.
Yeah. And you'll probably mix it up a little bit with all these different resources you have and turn it into your. And Johnny always says that cracks me up because I visualize it. But he said, hey, I started off with this little toolbox that I had, and then now I've got this big old service truck with all these different tricks and different tools I can use. And you're just kind of building it into that.
Well, Bill said Joe is with Spartan Forge now.
He is.
That's a winning combination.
Yeah, Joe.
Bill, you
Joe's
should call
in,
Bill. Bill knows the number. You probably got it programmed in.
Yeah, come on, William.
Come on, William. The other thing that we talked about earlier today, before obviously we're on the show, is just making it your own, though, too. You don't need to do what everyone else is doing because that's what works for them. There's enough tactical things going on. Once you understand how deer behave, what the vegetation is, or the stem count, as we're like learning, right? From last week's episode, and the wind, and how to separate yourself from other hunters, and so forth, and use all these things and orchestrate them to how you do things. I have a cousin that listens to the show, and he's, I don't know, whatever. He's killed a lot of really big deer at very close range with a trad bow. I mean, most of the deer he's gotten are within 5 to 10 yards, like 8 yards from the ground. Very aggressive hunting style and tactic. You'll never find him. He's not on social media. He is a freaking killer. But he has taken me out a few different times, even last season, and I'm learning things from him that I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, well, look, man, I hunt this way because I'm just too freaking bored to sit still. He's like, I just can't sit there. So this is what works for me. I've made it work for me because I refuse to sit in the stand and sit there and wait. I'd rather just go find the deer and then go kill him. I'm like, you make it sound like Happy Gilmore. Why don't you just make it in one putt or one shot? Not everyone has that in them to do.
But ask him, how many times did he screw up before he finally put an arrow in a good one,
Yep.
And then even after he put an arrow in a good one, he still had some screwing up to do.
Yep.
We do it every day in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the deal.
It's part of the deal. It's good stuff. What's Bill saying here? I'm listening. I'll stop in on my way to Nodak for opener. Right now, an engineering call. Damn it. Always working over there.
Hey, but he can't wait to see us.
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's important.
No, I don't. Bill, at some point, he's got to see the studio that he basically built. So, yeah, and the bourbon is flowing. This is
Bourbon, baby. Drop time spirits.
Yeah. No. So, by the way, folks, if you want to call in, feel free. The phone lines are open. We'll take calls if you have anything to share that relates to you or speaks to you, or you have anything to chat about or whatever questions and so forth. Feel free. The number is 262-757-4122. I'm happy to field your call. I know we got listeners on TikTok. We got listeners on, I think, Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. So we're all over the place, everywhere except for Instagram. They still have not done anything to get an API.
I hate to say it. I've met a lot of good people through that platform, but Instagram really blows goats for dollars. And they ain't paying dollars either.
Blow goats for dollars. What did you say at the beginning of the show with the whiskers? What the hell are you talking about?
A whisker on a biscuit? Or he said a hair on a biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You got to risk it to get the biscuit, Greg.
Meg did that this morning.
Meg. His dog's name is Meg, and every time I hear him say Meg, it makes me think of Meg from Family Guy when they go.
Greg, were you going to talk about those new topo lines and LiDAR?
I don't hunt an area where those topo lines make a shit bit of difference. I hate to say that.
What about the Northwoods, you fucker?
No, I haven't been looking at the Northwoods. I already walked through most of the Northwoods area that we're planning on hunting this.
Good. Maybe you should come out west with me to the Prairie du Chien.
Yeah, I still like the Northwoods, man. I know I should, but
you definitely should. You should mix it up. You could mix it up. You could do like an alternating year kind of thing. There's plenty of big bucks out that way and lots of unique terrain for you to navigate with your beard.
The beard will show me the way.
You have to go out to the hills a little more. So like the big thing that was the 10 to 25 foot contour lines.
Mm-hmm.
So those hill country guys are going to be pumped. And then LiDAR, that was something that Shane and Greg and Garrett put me on when we were hunting turkeys, was finding some of these trails, these old logging cuts and roads in the hills that you could kind of navigate in the dark. And so I've been using this. It's a Minnesota app. I think the University of Minnesota put out for LiDAR. But I know Walt. So Walt, Chasing Tails podcast, talked about using it in the swamps of Florida. But I've used it a little bit to find these little rises out in the middle of these swamps, and then go put some boots on and walk out there and see what you find. But
we do have a caller live.
Incoming.
Hunting near the Adirondack Mountains. Hey, who do we got online? You're live on the show.
Hey, guys. My name is Calder, and I am from upstate New York. I'm situated right between Lake Ontario and the Adirondack Mountains, basically.
Cool. Yeah, you have you're in a very terrain-rich area.
Yeah, good timing on your call.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Thanks. Yeah. So, where I am situated, basically, you leave the east side of Lake Ontario, you go gain elevation up the Hill Plateau about 2,000 feet above sea level, and then it drops down to a Black River Valley, and then straight from there to the Adirondack Mountains. I've just been listening. I got into hunting when I was about 16 years old. My uncle got me into hunting. I didn't have any family other than that got me into it. No brothers or sisters or dad hunt or anything like that. So I've just been kind of exploring different avenues and trying to figure stuff out a little bit on my own. Love the resources. I love the Spokane Hunter, the whole hunter. I was listening a little bit earlier about what we were saying about how Minnesota's gun season runs straight through the rut it does here in New York as well. There's not too many big bucks around, other than, few and far between in the Adirondack Mountains. But I just been soaking up you guys' content, and had a question kind of about, how do you guys do it when you're out there by yourself? Like I said, I don't have too many people to go hunting with, so most of the time I'm out by myself, but I'm trying to get in the woods, before daylight and get out before dark, just because it's big country and being out there alone is a little bit sketchy. But yeah, just what your guys' tips and tactics a little bit for hunting alone in bigger country.
Just in general, bring a compass, bring a lighter. Like those are things. If I'm going, when I used to hunt the Northwoods of Wisconsin, it's pretty vast, as Greg can attest to. He's been hunting the Shawinigan Nicolay National Forest. I don't know how many acres it is. I could probably Google it really quick.
There's multiple sections of it spread out all over the place, but it's big.
But you get turned around in there, and you could find yourself in some pretty deep trouble pretty quick, especially with the cold temps. Like we've hunted with my dad, it was like -15 one year, and you get cold. It can be pretty grueling. So at least having a compass and we didn't have technology back then. It was like walkie-talkies, smartphones.
Right.
Not that a smartphone would work there anyways, but downloading offline maps
that
would be a big one too.
Because if you're trying to run an app like, any of the mapping apps, they're going to suck a lot of battery out of your phone if you're in and out of service a lot. The other thing I can tell you, which is really handy to get, you can find something on, Amazon or whatever, but they make a lithium ion battery pack that you can
just packs right on the back of your phone.
Yeah, you can get one that packs on the back of your phone. You can get a bigger one that'll, charge multiple phones. But if you're in an area like that where you're kind of relying on your phone, you need your phone for mapping, and you're not downloading offline maps, that pack is really a lifesaver.
Tell someone, back home
headlamp.
Headlamp. Tell someone back home where you're hunting. If you have an iPhone, you can share your location with a friend or something like that. Just things like that, safety precautions. But if you're trying to talk to us about how to kill big deer or something like that, you're probably going to want to listen to the Hal Blood guys, the Big Woods Bucks, or talk to Johnny Stewart out in PA and Bo Martonic, and a lot of honestly Spartan Forge's pro guys are going to be great,
and they're reachable.
Resources.
They're honestly reachable. Don't hesitate. Like that's kind of what we're talking to Evan about here. Is like these guys are willing to help you. Reach out to them through social media platforms. They'll answer you. It may take them a few days. Like I know Bo's a busy guy. Johnny's pretty
running a business, but
yeah.
And Bill too, if he's accessible.
Yeah, reach out to those guys. I mean, they're hunting more similar terrain.
Awesome. That's awesome. I really appreciate it. Like I haven't, like I said, I don't have too many people around. I got a couple of cousins here and there that I can go with sometimes, but
Sure.
We have families, and so figuring out times that we can, get out in the woods. There's a couple people that's kind of difficult, but I appreciate you guys and all you guys, being willing to help and being willing to talk to, people that are a little bit more nervous and stuff. And definitely, I'm not in the big buck hunter category. I'm definitely in the okayest hunter category. Last year I got my first big hunter, which was exciting for me. Before that, it's always been, and I'd say that buck probably only was honestly 2, maybe 2.5 years old. They just don't live very long around here. I got a lot of egg country right here where I'm at, in between these big terrain features, and like I said, the gun season is long, goes right through the rut, and so I was listening to your podcast the other day with Megan Postal, was it? I think. Yeah,
she's out in your neck.
And yeah. So I was excited kind of to hear her, and I have tried that still hunting tactic a little bit up here and stuff, but I don't know if I have the patience to move slow enough for it. But
that's an example of not everything's going to work for everybody,
and it takes time.
Yeah.
Like you'll learn to be patient. You'll botch a few things, and you'll realize that, hey, I need to slow down. I can't move like I'm sprinting for track. I have to move at a turtle's pace.
Yeah. I would. One other thing I wanted to mention to you guys too, that I do think something like state is a very kind of a sleeper state. I think that there's a lot of opportunities out here, like she was talking about the black bears on the cameras and stuff. And, I think it's every year that I buy my big game tags, they give black bear tags out every single year. And I hardly fill them. I don't see any bears where I'm at, but there's definitely a lot of opportunities up here. I feel like it's a utilized area, kind of a sleeper area, but I would love to, if you guys are ever in the area or wanting to venture out and come hunt New York State, I'd love to try to accommodate any way I can and try to maybe link up with you guys. And,
that's awesome.
Do a little bit of hunting, but
we'll teach you more of what not to do.
Yeah, it's fun to.
you know which podcast you're listening to. How did you come across our podcast? I always like to ask folks, like, how did you hear about us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, just been kind of looking through for some resources. Information is gold as far as I'm concerned, because I'm, every little bit that I can learn is something that I'm going to soak up. And I believe I heard you guys possibly, I think it was on the Hunting Public podcast, maybe. Yeah, I just kind of came across you guys, and the first time I heard you guys podcast, I mean, the mantra, the ultimate culture, that hit home to me, because I don't, I'm not the most experienced guy. I don't shoot the biggest bucks, but I find it, very relaxing to be out in nature and out in the woods, just to go out in the woods and, spend some time out there alone and quiet, just trying to accomplish the goal of putting meat in the freezer for my family. That's the reason that I hunt. And like I said, the racks and stuff, that's not really my goal. I'm just trying to fill the freezers. But yeah, I've really enjoyed listening to you guys, your podcast the past couple of days, and just soaking up the information. And yeah, I like I said, if you guys ever wanted to reach out, or if you're ever in the area or planning, kind of thinking about New York State, this is a great area. There's tons of terrain. I've got hundreds of thousands of acres of public land within a half an hour of my house here, in the Adirondack Mountains and up on the Tug Hill Plateau also. So it's a really good opportunity, and I'd love to share it with some people if they ever wanted to get out this way. But
No, that's awesome.
yeah, I'll let you guys, let you guys go. But I just wanted to let you know I appreciate it, and feel free to reach out to me on social media or something like that. I think if you're ever even contemplating coming up in the area, and I can share some maps and stuff with you guys to kind of where I'm located, or maybe go from there. But yeah, have a good rest of your night, and appreciate your time.
Yeah, have
Thank
a good
you.
one. Thanks, Calder. So he's off the line, but I did want to call out that it says Facebook user in the comments. It means it's coming through our Shooter Buck Club when it happens. So I'm suspecting that maybe this is John Stelflew or one of his buddies. But it says, he said, check out the Hunt in Common, which is something we've had on our podcast.
Yes.
I don't know, a month ago or something. And they have a New York chapter. So maybe you can meet some folks that could help you out that way too. So
Yeah, it's good to have like-minded folks with you, and even if hooking up with guys from the Hunt in Common, that would be very beneficial to you. And you kind of build a safety net, and it is good to have a couple people know the general area where you're hunting. It's good to take people with scouting,
Yep.
Yeah. Just for a safety aspect.
I know they talked about a little bit that the Blue Force tracker that's supposed to be coming. I know Bill could talk on that a little more with as far as getting offline and everything. That's a big military thing, Blue Force tracker. And as long as you trust the guys that that you're sharing with, they're not going to steal your spot.
It's funny you talked about, you reach out to people and you're asking for advice and tips and mentorship, and there's guys that actually do just say, can you share your pin? That's like the equivalent of a dude sending a dick pic to a chick rather than asking her out for a nice dinner or something. Like you can't just go right to the dick pic and ask for the pins. Okay. And not to say that you even ever should, by the way. I'm not even saying that. First of all, A, don't start there. B, never even get there to begin with. Like that's some sacred shit. You can't just get people's pins.
I think part of it too, even if you did get a pin from somebody, it's like anything you do. If you were to ask any successful person or anybody really with their career or whatever it is, and you ask, what's the best part of what it is you did, or you reached this pinnacle, they say the journey.
An easy way. What's the easy way to get to where you're at?
Nothing. There's nothing. Literally nothing in life.
Nothing
comes
easy.
God,
nothing
people,
good. Nothing good comes
work.
easy.
Yeah.
If it was good and it came easy, everybody'd be doing it.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is
you got to enjoy the journey, and it, those pins were dropped after a lot of generally some work, and that's what all this is about. It's just enjoying the journey.
Stinging nettle.
Well, yeah. Rendell, you're live on the show. We've been talking a lot of trash about you, man. I hope you're here to defend yourself.
Yeah, too tall to deer hunt.
Yeah, man, for sure.
What's up, Rendell?
Did Greg text you?
What's
did he say to tune in? I saw him texting someone.
No, I didn't text. Yeah. I didn't message Rendell.
Maybe it was
somebody hit me up on Instagram Messenger telling me to call.
That was me. Yeah, I'm pretty sneaky like that. No, thanks for calling in. What have you been teaching this young what do they call it in Star Wars?
Padawan.
Jedi.
Young Jedi.
Is it Jedi? What do they call him? Penwan?
You become a Jedi if you
Okay,
if you aggressively scout find buck beds.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Jeez.
That's awesome.
So when
How to
random
find buck beds.
and say when random dudes message you on Instagram, you really do reply and you help them out. That's pretty great of you.
Yeah, man, I tried to help people out. I never had a mentor or anything like that. I pretty much just learned from my own experiences and making a lot of mistakes and listening to guys on, any way I could, DVDs, YouTube, any way I can. But I never had like guys kind of that I could bounce ideas off of or ask questions to. So I don't know. I'm a teacher in real life too, so I feel like I just like giving that option to guys. I think it helps your learning curve a ton. It'll cut out a lot of frustration. I just want people to be successful and know that there's a different style of doing things. So I like to help out when I can.
That's cool.
It's a good way to be, man. Derek's a teacher too. What grade are you teaching?
I do SPED and behaviors.
Awesome. That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Derek's just teaching a bunch of stoners how to draw, I think. He's an art
teacher, right?
He's an art teacher.
My God.
Art and photography.
They're probably just copying here, trace a shed antler today or something. That'd be awesome.
Derek puts his spin on everything he can. Trust us.
That's pretty cool. No,
That's
and
awesome.
I don't know, Evan, like, so what, I don't know, again, like you reach out to him, can you mentor me? Can you help me have these questions and so forth? Like what are some of the things that Rendell has taught you or that you've gotten out of like chatting with him more frequently or?
Yeah. So the first time I heard of Rendell, I was listening to Garrett Prowl's the DIY Sportsman podcast, and he was just talking about, I just remembered he was talking about an oxbow, and that's where I came into it. But he was talking about that a little bit and how he ended up killing a buck. And there's certain people that talk about their situation, and Rendell and then Andy May are the two for sure, main two that seem to hunt a lot of similar terrain. And yeah, so I try to remember what I could go back and see, but I listened to that podcast, and there's another one he talked about oxbows, and Garrett had asked him the question I asked Garrett about oxbows to see if he had any experience with it, because I found this big buck that gets me all excited. And I think I was just kind of asking him about his style and everything, and just kind of small talk. And then next thing you know, he's messaging me like, dude, put this stick in this bed. And I'm like plowing through this grass. We always call it snake grass, but this like that green. I should learn the term, Greg, then we can be great white hunters together someday. But
it's probably canary grass, canary or market grass.
There's usually some roosters hiding in them if you're in the right place. But
sure
there's this big old buck bed in there, and then he's like put this orange hat on there, and I was walking these exits, and yeah, it was just been awesome him telling me kind of his take on things, but then also kind of making it clear like, hey, this is my opinion. This is what's worked for me, and it might be a little different, but we've been talking a lot about some farm country stuff because I've been finding some deer in places that I don't think many people think deer live, and that's why I do understand when people say there's not any big bucks, potentially not many big bucks, but not fully, because there's some of these guys that just find there may not be as many, but if they scout enough, I think these guys find them that there's going to be one of those bucks that makes it through. And it might not be there, but I think it's pretty wild if you find this kind of underground way of doing it and a different way of doing it, you can find a lot more deer and then potential success if you keep at it.
Yeah, I like that whole put an orange hat on a stick at deer height idea. I mean,
what? So you can get a sense for like how they'd be seeing you, or what?
Here's the thing: you can go and sit or lay down in a buck bed, right? Are you going to have head height correct? Probably not, but you're going to see what that deer can see. But you're seeing it from that point of view. You don't know distances or any of that. But if you go and put an orange hat on a stick, a couple feet off the ground, Then you walk the perimeter. You walk some of those trails. You can see where you can see that orange hat. There's a good chance that buck can see out to where you're at. So
It's kind of like the blind spot in the semi mirror. It's
exactly.
like if you can't see me, I can't see you, right?
Exactly.
And then you
Yeah, that's correct.
hold your hand out the window. Honk, honk.
Yeah, so I found this scrape, and also Rendell got me on. I didn't. This little tree. There's like a rub on this tree, and there's a scrape there, but not a good looking branch. So I couldn't get my sticks on this little tree without probably breaking it. So I carried a freaking ladder out there, and like a mile and a half out there, and then I was able to put some paracord between the two trees, and then put a licking branch over it, and I got a camera on there. I haven't gotten a lot of pictures yet, but they should hopefully shift in there. But he's like, "Hey, can you see the orange hat still?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, go back another 10 yards." I'm like, "Okay." "Can you see the orange hat?" And I was like, "No, I can't." He's like, "Is there a good tree there?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I was just so pumped. So I had 2 sticks up. He talks a lot about you don't necessarily need to be 30 feet high, and that's
Nope.
depends on the situation, I think. But yeah, I go up 2 sticks. And that seemed to be a good strategy. And so now I've got a kind of a plan for that spot. And it was just cool to bounce that idea off of instead of sitting there staring at trees for an hour guessing and at least getting some idea from somebody that's got experience and has had success with that style of hunting.
Yeah. And Rendell, while we have you on the line, because I feel bad that now I said, hey, you should call in, and you didn't. You're just kind of hanging out here. But one of the comments that just came in, which I believe it's Tony, said, "Can you describe what an oxbow is for us newer folks?" Why don't you take a stab at that?
Yeah, so an oxbow is like it's kind of like if you're familiar with hill country, it's like a point, but it's surrounded by water. So it'll have water on 3 sides. So it's not quite an island because it'll be connected to land on one of the sides, and then that gives a buck security because a lot of predators don't come through the water. So if they have water on 3 sides, and then they can have the wind coming down the inlet kind of where it hooks to the land, they'll have the wind coming straight down from the land, and then they got the water on 3 sides. And then it makes them feel super safe. And they're usually bedded kind of out on the tip because it narrows down, so there's not a lot of room for anything to sneak up on them if it tries to. And they'll lay the other way too, where the wind's coming down it across over their back, and they can watch anything that comes from the mainland. They can watch it come down into the oxbow. So they usually lay on that on the 2 winds or just off wind. They're usually not there on a crosswind because it doesn't set up for them to be safe. So they'll move to a different oxbow, or they'll go to hill country bedding or whatever's around in the terrain. Just depends on what terrain you're in.
There's a lot to unpack there, talking about crosswinds and stuff. So we'll have to get you scheduled on a podcast. We'll dive into some more of these things. So, to the question, I believe Tony, like a river peninsula. Yeah. Like a river peninsula. And
river peninsula.
And I've seen it where it's, I don't know if it's canary grass or whatever, just the grassy areas. I've seen bucks. I mean, that was a big thing for me last year. I tried that out. I literally like hiked down a river and used that as my inroad, which covered a lot of my scent, a lot of my sound. I moved very slow because I didn't move slow in the beginning. I kicked up a doe, and I was like, oh, they're laying in the oxbows. Like, this could actually work. I thought I was going to shoot a deer right from the river. But I did validate that is definitely a thing. And I validated that a couple years back on a property where I'd seen 3 bucks, one big guy chasing away a couple others. And it was right along this oxbow and this river bottom. And there were 8 trucks parked on the road. And I saw 0 hunters and 2 nice bucks, 1 small one, and all in that area. So it certainly is an area that you can focus on. That begs the question. Like, maybe you talk to Parker McDonald and you start getting into bringing your kayak and your canoe and all that stuff. There's a lot of different ways to, like you said, Evan, is a slice a cat. Is that what you skin a cat?
Yeah, slice a cat.
Many ways to skin a cat, slice a cat.
I'm gonna cut you to the cat. Yeah, I'm just gonna.
I see you're talking about, or someone asked about consistency with how they leave the oxbows, and from what I've read a lot and what I've seen a little bit of, it's just like the oxbow I'm talking about. The peninsula goes out, and it's facing to the east, so a west northwest wind, which is more
Right.
predominant in Minnesota, blowing down. And it seems like if I have a northwest wind and it's kind of blowing down to the more south end of it, it seems that they would stay on the furthest downwind, so they got the water on, they're closest to the water with the wind coming down the oxbow.
The water is their
or
exit
vice
plan.
versa.
Like, they'll jump into the water and skedaddle across the river.
And they can use their
or
eyes
creek
to
or
see
whatever.
anything in the water and a clear path through the water. So the wind's always to their back.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're crafty animals.
That's correct.
They really use their resources and their senses in a way that we can't possibly imagine. But we can sure try to pick it apart a lot and talk about it on every podcast in the hunting industry, for years on end, really. This has been going on forever, so there's no shortage of knowledge to soak up, and you just got to get yourself out there and put this stuff to practice and see what's going to work for you. And some days you might just get lucky too, Yeah,
I think I had a screenshot. I don't know if you could see it, but there was the hunting public had put you might not even be able to see it with the lighting, but
there it
they
is.
kind of show that an oxbow like that. Unfortunately, they're using Onyx, which is a B in my book, but
it's okay. They don't sponsor us. I don't give a shit.
But yeah, just kind of there's definitely some resources out there if you get that idea sparked in your head and do some Google or YouTube. And I know Dan talks about it in some of the Hunting Beast stuff, or if you go on the Hunting Beast forum, there's a whole river bottom section that guys talk about, and there's just more resources to use.
Cool. What were you going to say, Randall? Do you have something else?
Yeah, I was going to say that there's a lot of nuances, like the devil's in the details in a lot of these setups, because not all oxbows are going to be created the same. I actually like the really hard river bend turns where there's multiple oxbows in a row, because then on different winds they can shift around. And usually if there's no cover on the oxbow, they're not going to be there. I mean, you got to know when you do your scouting, boots on the ground, you're like, all right, because sometimes there'll be enhancers. There might be some oak trees on that oxbow, which is going to enhance it, or like you said, the canary grass. But once you get a little later into the season, that canary grass kind of dies down and lays down, and they kind of move off of that. So I kind of look for ones that have trees or like oaks or stuff, so I know they'll be on there a little bit longer into the season. But if not, you need to jump on them right out of the gate. And those little bit of narrow ones I like because it kind of bottlenecks the movement. Because if they come off of that oxbow to the mainland, it pinches them way down so you can cover it a little bit better. Because if you pick a really wide one, it's harder to cover it when you're bow hunting, because they can come out kind of anywhere, and it's harder to shift your wind and stuff. So I like the tighter bottlenecks coming to mainland, maybe food, because living in Iowa, there could be food right across the river and they just drop off the front of the oxbow and go on the private. You don't have a chance. So you got to look how it kind of sets up. So I'd rather have the food on the mainland side and then have it a tight pinch where they'll come right out to go up to the food. And there's usually like a community scrape or one big scrape right where that oxbow meets the mainland, and there'll be a trail that runs up and down the river there that they use kind of in rut. So I'll try to hunt that scrape if I can, because you can manipulate that a little bit better for your wind and thermals, because you can dump your thermals right down into the water and you don't have to worry about that as much.
The tactics are deep here, guys.
Yeah, I mean, water is a natural draw for thermals anyway, so that's very helpful.
Interesting.
That's a great explanation. Thank you.
Yeah, no, Rendell, thanks for calling in, dude. We do have another caller behind you, so we'll reach out to get you scheduled on your own. You can have your own whole podcast to talk with us on stuff, but I'm really happy that you called in, man. Thanks for doing that.
I'm looking forward to that.
No, I appreciate it. Just let me know anytime.
Sounds good, bud. You have a great night.
Thanks, Rendell.
See you, Rendell.
You too. You're welcome.
Are you good on time over there, Evan?
I got all night, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, you're like, my wife's yelling. We're talking about too much deer. Let's keep going. All right, we're gonna bring in our other caller, Joel. You're live on the OK Center podcast. What is up?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's good. I know that voice.
No, I know that voice. Long
Oh
time
yeah,
no here.
it's
How
been
you
a
doing?
while there. I haven't got online for probably a good coon's age or two.
Yeah, just a few.
We know Joel well. Joel
Yeah.
has been talked about on this podcast probably at least every other episode. He is a good buddy of mine for forever, and we hunt every year together. So if it's not during bow season, we always sync up during gun. But Joel, what's up, man? You got questions for our guest or stories, or what do you got going on?
I do. The hunting the rivers and the oxbows is near and dear to me. It's kind of the only thing I get to do nowadays because I don't obviously don't have private land to sit on and all that good stuff. So I was wondering, do you hunt strictly from the land on the oxbows, or have you ever come in from like the waterways and tried to like sneak down river on them in canoes and kayaks?
Yeah, that's going to be my last year in Minnesota. Anyways, we had a big drought, so I hunted it once, but this is before I really broke down this oxbow this spring, so I wasn't quite in the right spot, at least what I think right now. But I walked the river and then just popped up the bank, and I've heard a lot of guys are able to do that when that wind coming from the land, popping your scent down and with the thermals dropping at night right down in the river, so you could even maybe get away with another sit. I suppose that's just depends on the situation. But yeah, I plan on this year, if it's high enough, I'll take a kayak down there, or I'll just walk the river if it's low enough, which was the case last year. But it seems that we'll have enough water I can float a kayak down, and then I'll pop up to that, just up the bank, and that's my access right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joel, someone in the comments just asked the same exact question. Travis Lee said, have you ever hunted on the ground or next to the bank or actually in the water? So water thermals are pulling your scent into the creek if the creek is very small. I have. I've hunted right on that. And I didn't even know if that was a good decision. I found a spot on the bank. And I was like, well, this is comfortable and I'm not seeing anything and I don't know what else is going on. And so I was just enjoying watching the current and a beautiful fall day, honestly. And then I heard this crashing and banging, and I thought, great, here comes the hunter, and is this freaking monster chasing away this spike. And I was like, holy shit, I literally couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't believe I was witnessing what was happening. I don't even know where they came from. And then he proceeded to run off another deer. So short of lobbing an arrow across the river, that's about what I was thinking to do. It's like they had no idea it was there. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's what's sweet about the saddle setup being so minimalist kind of is that I heard plenty of guys talk about this too, but if you've prepped a tree, that's cool. And if not, or it does just for some reason, your instincts telling you not to, like you have that saddle on your, strapped around you in your pack, and then you go up there and you can hunt from the ground if you want to. Some guys will just literally put the saddle just enough where they're sitting off the ground, but they're basically ground level, or you can climb a tree, or there's just so much versatility with it that you just kind of follow your killer instincts and see what happens.
Yeah, but I don't have those.
You never know. Confidence, baby. What do they say? If you believe it, you can achieve it.
You just got to keep trying.
Yeah, I listened to Lone Duck Outfitters. He's a dog trainer, and he always says "baby." He's like, so I get that stuck in my head from listening to him and my old basketball coach. Like, Eric, baby, just get confident. You'll be fine, baby. Let's go.
And Joel, yeah, you were the reason I ended up going down this river last season. Just walk down the river, dude. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I didn't think of that.
that was a river that I came in there and I was scouting and looking around, and I came across what I thought was a really nice 8-pointer, and I kind of came around the bend. I was in my waders, like chest deep in waders, just inching along kind of my tippy toes, just so the water didn't overflow into my waders and make me an anchor. And I saw a big 8-pointer, and I kind of tried to sneak up on it. So focused on that 8-pointer on my right-hand side, I didn't realize that there was a big 10-pointer just to my left, about 30 yards, watching me the whole way. And by the time I realized that, he just jumped up and ran off. And then ever since then, I've been going down to the very same oxbow to try and get that 10-pointer or 8-pointer, whichever one would give me meat. And lo and behold, every time I went down there, they would kick out of the same spot. So I went down there with a buddy, a Matt of mine that I used to work with, and he was duck hunting. So I brought, the bow, and we got down to the oxbow, and I said, I'm going to go sneak around. I snuck into the woods about a couple hundred yards beforehand, and I just went in and just, pretty much came in from the back side, and I just said, go ahead and duck hunt that corner. And sure enough, he duck hunted that corner, and he pushed them deer right to me. Because there is no possible way to get into there unless we had to do like a mini drive. It was a one-man deer drive. And it worked out. I had a shot at a 6-pointer, but a 4-pointer just stood right in front of me. So I just took that because 8 yards away is much better than shooting through brush and 30 yards at a bigger deer. So take what you can get, never pass, right?
That's right.
Never pass.
Backstraps.
The backstraps, man.
Backstraps are pretty big on that book. No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
it's fun
The
stuff.
smaller the deer, the easier it is to drag.
Yeah, and if
There
it's
you
a
go.
little fork like that, you still got a handle to pull it from. It's great. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, that way it doesn't dig into your calves with the big giant antlers. That's why I go for the little ones.
Well, I know, Joel, you and I took a canoe down a river, and we jumped. I don't know if you caught a glimpse of how many points it was, but it was a very large deer. And you had even said,
Yeah,
be really quiet as we go around these bends here. And of course, I probably my bow slipped and dropped, or I clanked the oar on the side of the canoe or something. But this deer stood up and looked at us, and I was like, "Oh, get the bow!" And then it's gone. And I was like, "Shit!" But there he was in this oxbow, and I suspect it was later in the season. He was pressured heavily on this public property and pushed way back to the river where no one else was going to get to, because they had to cross a big marsh to get there. And if you're going to go down those areas, you got to be really quiet.
Story. Because if I remember right, it was you were saying we should pull up here and sneak in, and I was like, well, I think you can't hunt here. I think you got to go down to the next bend. And I was kind of fighting you a little bit, and I was turning around talking to you, and that's when we spooked it up. So that was 100% me that day.
Yeah, well, that was it. We had our phone apps out, and we're dissecting the property lines. I think we can go here. No, we got to go here. We can put in here. We can go there. But it's it was this tiny sliver of public along this river, and well, whatever. Let's just go as far as we can and see what happens. And then that happened. Yeah. Oh man. But that's just it.
We were using Onyx. We didn't know any better.
No, that was before Spartan Forge. That was before I have a new bill. Our Spartan Forge was 3-4 years ago or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we could talk about this all night. So to answer that question that just came through, do you pay much attention to oxbows come November? I think we were in there late October because it was before gun, but it was snowing. So it's later in the season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a November hunter looking for rut, you're looking for does. And if does are on that oxbow because it holds food and good cover, or it's in close proximity to food with good cover, yeah, it's probably worth hunting.
Yep. Yeah, especially that one was pressured back to that back end of the property.
Yep. But
then he scooted into the private, and that was the end of it. And there's very, very prominent loud signage of do not cross this border, blah, 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 blah. Probably because he had enough people who's going into his property. Mm-hmm. So we're I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole.
Nope, stay away.
But yeah, Joel, thanks for calling.
I got one more question for you if you got time.
Go for it. Yeah, go for it.
So Evan, do you hunt that obviously prior to gun season, or do you ever do a later season, or do the rivers ever freeze up good enough where you can walk on the ice? Would that give you better avenues of approach on those?
Yeah, so you definitely could hunt it.
I do a lot more late season hunting just because it's easier to scout with the snow, and there's, I got more time then, but just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so I had a camera on it, and I had a picture. So I shot a deer November 1st, my first buck with a boa, getting into this whole underground type of hunting anyways, a 2.5-year-old nice buck. I was pumped about it. And then I went out and scouted some more before the gun season. And that's when I found the scrape. And I had this picture of this big buck on it. And then the last picture I got of this big buck was the opening day of Minnesota gun season at 5:45 in the morning. Never again. And I think he just maybe got pushed out of there with how big he was. He's pretty smart. But I did glass it on the other side across the river. It's just a tall bank. I don't even know how tall it is. And the cover, kind of Rendell spoke on, it's the cover, that canary grass kind of knocked down. There's a little bit of cover on a small isolated part of it. And there was a doe group on there still. So, but I never had a picture, at least at that scrape. That was later, but it's going to be something I'll probably monitor if I get a chance here later season. And it could be a spot if that cover and if there's still food, but there's just not a lot of lot of food on there after the oaks have dropped and everything, from what I can tell, anyways. But
That's a good question. Joel, I'm glad you finally got a Tuesday to hang out with us.
Yeah, it's I got on a little late, so but the kids had to get a bath and all that, and now they're watching My Little Pony, so I'm good for a little bit.
That's great. Well, yeah, the next one we do, if you're around, we'll get you. Let's have you drive over here.
Yeah,
you're right down the road. You come hang out in studio.
Yeah.
Get you a headset and all that jazz. Got lots of
Yeah, I'll
bourbon
bring
to
some
drink.
whiskey.
Exactly. There you go. See, now you're getting the drift. You're getting the driftless, Glenn.
driftless, baby.
Cool, man. Well, I'll drop you off, and then we're gonna bring this plane in for landing because at some point I got to put my kids to bed here.
All right, sounds good, man. Thanks.
See you, buddy.
See you, Joel.
See you, Joel.
Look at you, man, bringing in callers.
Yeah.
Who is this guy? Man,
Just some random guy with too much time to scout.
turns out everyone just wants to talk deer with you. You are
Take
right.
advantage of it, because if once you start having kids, if you decide to have kids or something else goes on in life, it could change in a heartbeat.
Do you kids want to go to Uncle Greg's for the weekend? I'm going deer hunting.
That's what I should do. I should make Greg watch my kids while I go
Don't
hunting.
worry, I'll feed them Snickers bars and Mountain Dews and send them home.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, right. You're gonna feed them venison.
Mm.
Here, you can have some venison sticks. They're jalapeno cheddar, but yeah, put some hair on your chest.
Yeah, it's fine. They wash down nice with a Mountain Dew and Snickers bar for a little dessert after.
Here you go. You know what?
Little
Those
hair
ice
on the biscuit.
little hair on the biscuit. We're
Yeah,
full
put a little
circle
hair on
now,
the
guys.
biscuit.
Add that one to your arsenal. Oh, that's funny. Well, yeah, dude. How do people find you on Instagram so they can message you a whole bunch as you continue to get that killer instinct fine tuned?
We're totally gonna blow you up now.
Emasters, EMASTERS 07. I think there's an underscore. I got that boring. Apparently my name's too standard. I can't just have the Evan Masters or anything. But yeah, EMasters _ 07. Birthday's in July. That's where the 07 comes from, I think. That's what I was thinking.
So it's not a 7 and 7 or something, or like some big secret.
007.
There you go.
007.
Yeah, not necessarily.
That's funny.
Yeah, just I created this Instagram just for my hunting and some pictures and stuff, because I just, like Greg had kind of, both of you guys have talked about just the people you can meet and the stuff you can find, and I just love seeing different stuff on there. Sometimes mindlessly going through reels and seeing cool stuff.
I'll give you enough reels to mindlessly go through. We promise. I put one together from what was that movie from a long time ago? Tom Cruise. What the heck was that movie? I just did it last night. I put it out there. Jerry Maguire.
That's it.
Yeah. You had me
Hey,
at
listen. I quit. That one got me pretty good today.
Oh, yeah.
Then,
Hey, no,
I'm
it's all.
conditioner.
I quit.
I'm shampoo. I'm conditioner. Oh, that one got me going again too. I might have to go watch that again.
You want ridiculous content? We got it.
Yeah. Well, who knows what my brain will think up with next? I have no clue. I just surf. I'm like, there's an idea, or like something will be on TV. I'm like, gotta go grab that, or it's coming from all over the place. But once I turn it on, I can't turn it off. I'll sit there on my phone and I'll just go ham. I'll make like 20 pieces at once, fill the hopper, and then I'll dole it out, and then I'll be another month before I touch it again. But it's fun. And then Tyler does it too. He's got the bug also, so you see his face on there also. Everyone's like, "Who's Tyler?" Tyler's the co-founder. He's the other guy that literally like runs the business.
Who's Tyler? The guy that is always on your reels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When you order your hat or stickers from us or
That's the
koozie,
guy.
he's packaging it and spraying it with dirt scent. So
As long as he's not
go.
being on it, you're fine.
I can't speak for what he does with that.
No.
Dirt scent.
I'm
That's
getting
good stuff.
Yeah, don't piss him off. He'll piss you off.
Literally.
Does that smell like pee to you? Oh man. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. I'm gonna end the live broadcast. If you want to hang out for a minute, Evan, we'll debrief and chit chat. But other than that, folks, thanks for tuning in. This will be in podcast land later tonight.
We'll see you.
See you guys.